Hi, this is the preacher lady. How are you doing? Oh my goodness, another shooting, y'all. It's unbelievable. I want to talk about the shooting on Makhia Bryant, the 16-year-old that was shot. I watched the video. I heard the 911 call, and I think it's terrible. That could have been my daughter. But I'm going to say it like this. Yeah, it was after the verdict of George Floyd. But I'm going to say this, and I don't justify nothing because I think that I don't feel that no child should have to die so young, period. But we have to look at the facts too. And the fact is, she was charging at another girl with a knife. So he shot her, according to the policeman, to prevent her from stabbing the other girl. Now, he could have reached for the taser. I mean, you can put somebody down with a taser. I mean, that was a child. But I'm going to say this. We can't blame the policeman for everything. Now, we want justice. And we want things done the right way. And we're going to have to teach our children to behave themselves because you just can't. It's sad that all these people out here fighting. I think the grandmama was out there. Everybody was out there. And they were just fighting. And I think it's a shame. And I've saw so many videos with young people out here just fighting and acting a fool. Then when the policemen shoot you, you want to say, oh, the policeman this and the policeman that. Come on now, we're going to be fair. We want them to be fair. We got to be fair. Now, if she was charging at the other girl with a knife and he shot her, he was defending the other person. That's what they're here for. They're here to protect the citizens, right? So I don't know. I got to look at it some more. But I'm not going to say he was wrong. I'm not going to say he was right because he could have used a taser to put the child down. It was just a 16-year-old child. But some of these young kids out here, they really are rough. And we have to teach our children to behave themselves too. You can't blame everything on the policeman. That's all I'm saying. Because we want justice. And we want them to deal with the facts. We don't want to be reaching for nothing. And every time one of our, somebody gets shot by the policeman, oh, the policeman and the policeman that. Now, we have to look at the facts. We have to analyze this very well before we reach for any type of judgment. Because I hate that the child got shot too. That could have been my daughter, my granddaughter, anybody, And she was so young, and our children are dying so young. But they're not doing the right things either. And all them people out there, I saw it, and the boy stomping the girl. Now what about him? The one that was stomping on the other lady. You see? We out here acting a doggone fool, then when the police shoot you, then you want to blame the policeman for everything. You got to do the right thing too. Okay? Like, you just can't sit there and blame the policeman for everything, y'all. And I think, it looked to me, the policeman was kind of scared himself. You know what I mean? That's a lot of people. I'm looking at this. I'm like, dang, all these people out here fighting for what? We have to behave ourselves. They telling you it's a pandemic out here. Every time you look at Facebook, there's a whole crowd of young folks out here fighting, partying. They're hard-headed. You're not doing the right thing. Do the right thing. Stop trying to blame everybody. Take some responsibility for your actions too. Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying he's wrong. Because he could have used a taser. That's what I'm saying. Because it is a child, a 16-year-old child. But she did have a weapon. Okay? But it's sad that a 16-year-old child is so angry that she got to pick up a weapon and go charging at another person. So you got to look at the anger our children have too. And there's a lot of angry people out here. And these are children. These are kids. With this much anger, you got to think about this. That's some scary stuff. You know? So you don't want to blame the policeman for everything because then that's defeating the purpose. What we want is justice for our black people. And we don't want to be blaming them for everything that we do because, our kids can be hard headed too. All I'm saying is do the right thing, okay? I'm not justifying for the police officer because I think it's wrong that he had to shoot a 16-year-old child like that. I think he could have used a taser and brought her down. That's all I'm saying. But I'm also saying that we need to talk to our children and get them to behave themselves too. And I'm saying this, we can't blame the policeman for everything. Sometimes we have to take accountability for our own actions too. Okay? And that's all I'm saying. And I'm going to analyze this some more before I speak on it. Because I think it's a shame. And I think it's I think it's a tragedy. And it's just terrible. It's just so terrible. But I'm looking at this. In a way, you can say you can say he's wrong, but in a way, you can say he's right too. So I don't know. I'm undecided on this one. I'm talking about Makhia Bryant, the 16-year-old that was shot, because I know I took care of a lot of foster children. I had my own foster home, and I will tell you this: a lot of foster children have an inner hatred. They have a bitterness about them, and they're angry all the time. This I do know. And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to put that anger to rest in them. Because for one, they're angry because they were abandoned. They're angry because they're in the system. They're angry. And this I know for a fact because I own my own foster care home. And I had my girls, when they came to me, they were bad as hell. I'm going to tell you this now. I had one come to me in a police car, and they were bad, and they gave me a run for my money. But I did the best I could. I raised them all. They all got their own homes, their own cars. They all got their own jobs. Some of them are educated, and they came out better than what their parents did, because most of the parents was on drugs. That's how I ended up with them. So they turned out pretty good, and I thank God for that. But I do know this, that she was in the foster care system, Makhia Bryant, from what I read. And I do know this for a fact, that a lot of foster care children have a bitterness about them. They do. And they're angry all the time. And it takes a very special person to suppress that anger so that they can live their lives. And I had a lot of foster care daughters of all nationalities, and they were all angry and bitter. But they grew up to be fine young ladies, and they're all independent, and they're all doing good. And I thank God for that, because a lot of people ask me, why don't you get rid of them? They're not going to be any good. They're going to be this here. But they turned out to be very respectful ladies. And it's the way you raise them, though. You got it, but it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to raise a foster care child. It really is. But it can be done, because I've done it. So that's one thing that you need to know. And I know this for a fact. A lot of foster care children do have an inner hatred, a bitterness about them. They're angry all the time. But it can be worked out. But it takes time. And it takes a very special person to be able to do that. You have to show them tender, loving care at all times, because they feel rejected by everybody and they feel lonely. The police officer, it looks like he did that out of fear, and he was because his hand was shaking. I'm looking at his gestures, I'm looking at everything, and I don't know. I'm undecided on that one. I can't just say he killed her in cold-blooded murder. I do believe he could have used a taser to bring her down. There's other alternatives too. She didn't look that threatening to me. I mean, it's a kid. You know what I mean? Even the tone of her voice didn't feel threatening to me. So, I just have to analyze that just a little bit more. I'm looking at it over and over. I'm listening to the 911 tapes. I believe she was the one that called the 911 operator, though. And she ended up being the one shot, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I have to go back through it again. I'm listening to it over and over and over, trying to figure this one out. But again, we have to take responsibility for our own actions too. You know, she shouldn't have had a knife. She did have a weapon, and she was charging at another girl trying to stab her. But the other guy that was stomping on her, I wonder what's going to happen to him. I don't know why men do that. I mean, he raised his foot to stomp this girl in the ground like she was a animal, or look at the video. It's just terrible. Our people not all that. Our people need to be talked to too. You know what I mean? You want them to act right, you act right too. Do the right thing. That's all I'm saying. Do the right thing. You got to take responsibilities for your own actions too. We want justice for our people, but we cannot get out here and start reaching for stuff. You know, we know our people are hard-headed. We know how our people act. You know, do the right thing, okay? That's all I'm saying. And on that note, I'm going to say God bless you and I love you. Bye.